So learning how to calculate your tech utilization rate is going to help turn maybe, your messy operations into just pretty much a scorecard. And so it's going to show if your dispatching, your scheduling, your parts readiness, and your training are working or failing. And so if you want a specific KPI that's going to improve revenue and also reduce costly overtime, then give me maybe 8 to 10 minutes, and I'll show you how to calculate all this. Okay, so in the data set here, and if you want this data set, there's a link in the description to download it, or in the book, there's going to be a link to download it. Okay, so you're going to have something, this is a dummy data set, but you should be able to pull this data from your software, ServiceTitan, or whichever software you're using. And if you're not using a software, then a spreadsheet, you should have somebody manually entering in this data, just because it's extremely valuable. So something as simple as the date, who worked on different projects that they worked on, or different clients that they worked on throughout the day, and then you can also change these numbers. Like maybe your employees are working 410s, or different. Maybe some days are different than the others, and then you have billable. And so we're only using billable versus available. We're not going to use travel or admin, because you're not going to get to 100%. I mean, if you do, then they're going to be spending more than 8 hours. If they're billing for 8 hours and they only have 8 hours available, then you're not counting travel time, admin hours of them entering in information. Okay, so first what we need to do, I don't know why it says weekday, we want the month here. So to get the month, I already did it in the example that I showed in the beginning, but that I'm going to recreate. But you use the text function, so equals text, and then click on the date, the cell with the date in it, and then comma, and then 4 M's. I'm going to get an error because I didn't use the right. Right. So now you have that. If you wanted, like, for other analysis that you might be doing, if you wanted the day of the week, you could do 4 Ds, and that'll give you the weekday. Like, in other words, the first was a Thursday. Okay. So now what we need is a list of months in the column, and then a list of the names in the row. So to get a list of the months, let me just zoom in here. So month in cell B2, and then just type in January in cell B3, and then drag it down, to cell B14. Get a list of the tech names. What you're going to want to do is equals unique, and then go to the data and click in cell D1, and then Control Shift down arrow, and that's going to highlight the whole range, and then press enter. And now you have a unique list. So then you can just copy that. So highlight the unique range, Control C, and then Control Shift in the letter V, and then that's going to highlight that range, or to remove the formula. Okay, so now just highlight the names and then go to data and then A to Z, just to sort it alphabetically, and then press Control C, and then go up here to cell C2 and then right click, go to paste special, and then transpose. You could also right click and then press ST on your keyboard, and that'll do the same thing if you want to have a shortcut. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to get the sum of the billed hours for Andres Gomez and divide it by the sum of available hours for Andres Gomez for the month of January. So for the numerator, in cell C3, type in equals SUMIFS, and then here at the top, what do we want to sum? So in the numerator, in the top of the equation, so in the bottom we're going to have total hours available, but in the top of the equation we're going to have billable hours. And so equals SUMIFS, comma, and then we can do month next, so column C, comma, and then we need to go and click cell B3, which is January, comma. And then the next thing is we need to get this name here. So go back here, click column D with the technician name, comma, and then Andres Gomez. Right? So we have 109 billable hours for the month of January. So now we need to divide this by the total available hours. But first, what we want to do, actually, here, I'll just show you. So just highlight everything and then copy it, except the equal sign, and then divide it by and then paste. And you can press enter. It's just one. But what I'm looking for is available hours as column F, not column G. So all we have to do, instead of retyping the whole formula, is just change in the denominator the G to F. And now you get a percentage. And you can press Control Shift and the number 5. And now we want to drag this over, but what you're going to notice is an error. And the reason is because if you look, like, column G now turns into H, right? Everything goes over one. So G turns to H, C turns to D, B3 turns to C3, D turns to E, so on and so forth. And we need to tell Excel, like, don't do that, right? Like, whenever we drag this over, we don't want January to change, but we do want Andres to change to Carlos, right? So then from here, we can lock. So press F4. Anywhere you see a column, like not B3, but like the full column, press the F4 key. Click somewhere in between the letters and click the F4 key on your keyboard. And so we can just go through and do all that real quick. Okay, and then now where you see the blue, the column, put a $ before the letter. And that's going to tell Excel, like, as I go over, don't change. Don't change January to, the value of Andres Gomez. But as I go down, change it from January to February. And then for the red, so let's do this real quick. So put a $ before the B3. And then for the red, put it in between the letter and the number. And this is saying, as I go over, yes, change it from Andres to Carlos, but as I go down, don't change it. And then right here, in the middle. Okay, so assuming I know what I'm talking about, let's see if this works. So copy, and then highlight the range, and then paste. And now all the math is done, right? And so we're good to go here. But now what we want to do is we want to create just a simple, annual average utilization rate, which is this bottom number here. And so to create this bottom number, we can just put average here, and it's going to be the same formula, and I'll show you the difference. It's super. Once you sort of understand, like, the framing behind the SUMIFS, then you'll understand. It's really dark up here. Like, yeah, it's about to rain. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to remove this section here, the January section. So we can just highlight this, right? So we're essentially removing the January, the column C, which has the months, and the cell B3, which is January. Make sure to remove that extra comma. And then we're going to do the exact same thing here. And then Control Shift and the number 5. We can center it, and then we can move this over one, then copy and paste. And so what you can see sort of right off the bat, that you don't want to take the averages here, right? You want to take the total available hours over the year, and then use that in the denominator and take the total hours billed in the numerator. Okay, so if we want to do a heat map like we have in the other one, just highlight this and then go to conditional formatting on the home tab, and then color scales, and then you could do green high, or red high. But because, to be fair, like high could be bad, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it's good. It could mean that, customer service goes down, the quality of the repairs or the installs go down. So it's just either of these, high and low could be bad. Maybe your sweet spot's 75%. And then you can just do the exact same thing here. Conditional formatting, color scales. For this one, we're just doing high as green, but you can change it. Okay, so to get this chart here, which is just, annual average utilization, just highlight. It says month, but we can change that. So highlight the month, or the range here of the tech, and then highlight the average. Go to insert, and then you can do recommended, and then it'll create this. And then you can just change the color if you want. I like it darker, but you can do average, annual tech utilization rate. And so you have that here. And also, like, one thing, just if you wanted to have, let me move this over. If you wanted to have a different axis, you could always just double click here, and then you could change the minimum to, say, I don't know, 0.5. And then you'll see more variance, throughout the chart. And then if you want to remove the decimal, you can go to number and then do 0 here. Okay, so we got that. I might start to move a little bit fast. So the next thing that we want to do the exact same thing by level. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and then just say put this here, and then I'll copy this because I already showed you how to do that. And then now it's going to be the same thing. So equals SUMIFS, so data, but this time we're going to do billable hours, F4, remember to lock it, and then tech level, F4, again, to lock it, and then starting point here, senior, and we're going to put the $ again in the middle because we want to lock the row from when we go up and down, comma, and then we want to do the month F4 to lock it, comma, and then here. And that's telling you how many billables there were for that month, right? And then here we need to lock this. And then everything else is good. Highlight this, divide by the same thing, and then let's find the available hours, F. So then here, change G to F because we want the billable hours divided by the available hours. And now you get a percentage. And then again, if I did this right, you can leave this away. You can copy this over here, and you get this back. Okay, so if we can do the heat map, and then we want to just get a simple chart here, but first we need to get the annual average. So same thing down here. I'm just going to copy this and then remove the month. So we need to remove the red. So just take this out and then take this out, copy, paste, Control-Shift-5. You can add a decimal if you want, or you can leave it how it is. And then highlight this, hold down the Control key, insert, and then recommended charts, and then here, then change the color. So you can do, what do we call this one? Average, annual average utilization by tech level. And I'll just make this just a little bit smaller, just to fit on one line. And then, yeah, click on this, click the crosshair, and you can get the data labels. All right, so that's how you can calculate, your annual average utilization by tech, and also by specific tech, by tech level, by month. You can also do it, if you have a job, a column with the service type, maintenance, installations, whatever it may be. But that's all I got for this one. If you can't find the file, it's in the description, but if you can't find it, shoot me an email, leave a comment, whatever you want. Questions at data boards, just make sure to tell me, hey, can you send me the file for the service ops tech utilization rate? And also, if you can't like recreate this type of data, if you have the data just over several files, then just let me know. I can help out with that. But anyways, that's all I got for this one. I got to fix the lighting. This has been a super dark video. That's all I got for this one, and I will see you in future videos.